Hi, Judah family. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm so glad you're here. I'm running a couple of minutes late. Sorry. Okay, it's going to be a great night. We've got so much to do. We're going to be talking about prayer and meditation. Which one should you do? We're going to do some prayer and meditation. We're going to have some music. We're going to have a great time. First, let's talk about some news. Having so much fun still always, doing sessions all week long. I meet the most amazing people in the Judah family from all over the world. We had two people, one this week, one last week, that began channeling for the very first time ever on our session together. And for both of them, it was a surprise, a very happy surprise. So a shout out to Edwin in New Jersey, who began channeling a powerful, powerful group called the Stargazers. I can't wait to get updates on that and hear some of their messages. And also Red in Washington State, who began channeling a beautiful group called Armand. And so this is just amazing. We're just having an absolute blast. Special love to all of you guys doing the course. I can't respond to every message and every question and comment, but do know that I read over them, and I'm always holding space in my heart, praying and meditate for all of you guys. So let's dive in. We got a lot to do tonight. It's going to be a good one. And I can't obviously do what I'm doing and respond to you guys as you're chatting with each other, but have a good time and enjoy one another, help each other, support each other, but don't miss out on the message as well. All right. Oh, one last thing. So last week we were talking, I mentioned, or Judah mentioned, about what's so important to what the work that we do in this channel is that you experience the presence of God. I don't ever want anybody who's coming in contact with this work to think that I'm doing something that you can't do. Anything I can do, you can do and do better. And so last week I was talking about belief systems, and Judah brought this metaphor forward about an apple. You know, you don't have to study an apple. You don't have to know where it came from. You don't have to know who grew it or how long it hung on the branch or what its molecular structure is or anything like that to enjoy an apple. You don't have to have a belief system about what an apple is or what it's supposed to do for you, right? No, all you need to do is slice it open and eat it. So, and then the next day on Monday, I had ordered groceries on Sunday and they were dropped off on my porch on Monday. And inside, I had ordered 4 or 5 apples, were the biggest apples I've ever seen in my life. Look how big this apple is. This is the one that's left. This is not even the biggest one. The biggest one was a monster. And so I felt like that was a serendipitous sign from Judah. Yes, you guys are going to experience God, experience angels, experience bliss. We're not going to just talk about it here. We're not going to learn about it. You're going to actually bite into it and eat of the amazing presence of the glory of all that's out there in the unseen realm. So, love these giant apples. All right. Do you want to say anything before we start? Chuck's like, what is she doing? Okay. Prayer or meditation. So, for those of you, part of what started tonight on prayer and meditation was this. Sometimes I get comments from you guys saying, but I prayed and I asked Judah for help and nobody answered. And so if you're that person or one of the persons who made a comment similar to that, and I don't mean to laugh or make fun because I know you probably have some really intense or serious issues going on that you want support for. So if you're that person, tonight is for you. You're going to find your answers tonight. If you've ever prayed to God, to Jesus, to an archangel, to Judah, and haven't gotten an answer or felt like you didn't get an answer tonight, you're going to find out the answer to that question. So prayer or meditation, maybe you've wondered, what's the difference between prayer and meditation? Is one of them better or preferable than the other? Does prayer even work? If so, why does it work all the time, or does it work all the time? Maybe you've wondered, am I praying the wrong way or the right way? Is there a right way to pray? And who should I pray to? So, first, let's talk about the differences between prayer and meditation. Prayer is, first of all, has a lot of religious baggage around the word prayer. So be mindful of that. You might not even want to use the word prayer. You might want to use the word intentions, my intentions or my preferences. But during our evening tonight, I'm going to use the word prayer. So be mindful, though, that it can have a lot of conditioning and baggage around it. Okay? So be open to having a new definition or understanding of what prayer is tonight. So prayer is talking, and meditating is listening. Prayer is talking, meditating is listening. So there can be a real intimacy and sweetness that comes when you're talking with someone that you care about or that you want to get to know. And there can also be a deep sweetness and intimacy that comes in being quiet with someone that you love, not really having anything to say, or just listening to the other, right? We all know, or I hope you know, have had this experience. Maybe you haven't. But one of the most precious gifts that you can receive as a child or give to a child is to be listened to, right? To be listened to. And a child that has really, truly been listened to feels loved. So prayer is talking to someone or something in the unseen realm. Okay, so that's the difference between just talk. Talk is what you do with people in human bodies in the third dimension. Prayer is talk as well, and conversation. It's just the word we use for when we're talking to someone that we can't see with our eyes. So you might pray to angels, archangels, ascended masters like Jesus or the Buddha or Muhammad. You may talk to saints. I know in the Catholic Church, it's really predominant practice to pray to saints like the Mother Mary, or to Saint Germain or Saint Teresa of Avila. There's many different saints. Also, prayer can be talking to a loved one that's passed on. So it's a conversation or talking to anyone any soul that you can no longer see with your eyes, with your physical eyes. Now, a soul that's in spirit, not in body. Now, in my experience in the church, I was very expressly and implicitly taught that it is heresy and dangerous to speak to anyone in the unseen realm except for Jesus. And I was also taught that it's very dangerous to pray to anyone outside of praying in the name of Jesus. So that may be, if you came from a Christian tradition, why you've heard people sometimes say at the end of the prayer, in the name of Jesus, amen. So, and there's some reasons for that and context for all of that. But if you think about that, that kind of doesn't make sense, right? Like if you lived in a family, let's say a mom and a dad and brothers and sisters and aunts and uncles and grandmas and grandpas, would it be really strange? Don't you think it'd be kind of odd if the practice or rule in your family was that you should only talk to your brother, but not your mom or your dad or your sister or your grandma or grandpa? Kind of weird, right? So I have my newer understanding of prayer. My current understanding of prayer is this. In prayer, in the act of my praying, what I'm doing is I'm acknowledging that there are beings or souls beyond what I can see that have achieved a higher level of consciousness, a higher state of love, of wisdom, of understanding than I have at this point in my journey. So in praying, I'm acknowledging that fact. I'm coming with a humility and an openness, saying, there are beings out there that have something to offer me, and they've achieved levels of consciousness that I haven't yet had the grace to come into in my experience. And so there's a humility and a teachability in the act of prayer when it's coming from a surrendered state. And so one really simple prayer that I use a lot is I just say, I ask for help from any and all beings of light that are at my level of consciousness or higher. I ask for help from any and all beings of light that are at my level of consciousness or higher. And of course, you most certainly can pray specifically to Jesus or to Judah or ask for help from your guardian angel or whoever the guides are that you feel connected to. All of us have had the experience, let's say, I don't know, your lawnmower breaks down and you really need to cut the grass. So you think through your mind, what's the neighbor? Which neighbor do I have enough of a connection with that I feel comfortable knocking on their door and asking if I can borrow their lawnmower, asking for help or assistance? Right? So all of us have specific connections to different beings and angels that we develop relationships with. And so it makes sense that we would reach out to them for assistance. Okay, now let's contrast prayer with meditation for a moment. So in meditation, it's less of I'm outside of these beings asking for assistance, and it's more of a merging with these beings. In meditation, you merge with all these beings. And yes, Judah wants to talk. Judah wants to explain this part. Thank you. So in meditation, you are merging with all of these beautiful beings. All of these beings also having merged with source, with universal consciousness, with the glory of all that is. So in meditation, you have let go, you have relinquished your asking or your talking simply to enter a state of being one with us. And in meditation, you are experiencing yourself as connected to source and all that is. And you experience God as inside of you rather than outside of you. Good. So Judah gave me a really cool analogy on a session with a lady the other day to help us understand this. I hear this question a lot phrased in different ways. Who should I reach out to for help? Should I just rely on my higher self? Should I ask source? Is it a lesser request or a less adequate, resource to ask angels or archangels? Or is it okay to ask for help from other interstellar races? These are some of the questions I get. So here's the metaphor that Judah gave me. Yes, we will share this. It is this. When you bake a cake, my dears, there's certain things that you put in the cake, eggs and milk and flour and sugar and so on, and you mix them all together. And once you've mixed them thoroughly all together and baked them, there's only one thing that remains. Only one thing, that is the cake. There is only one thing to partake of. It is the cake. You cannot then go back and extract out the eggs or the milk or the vanilla or the sugar and so on. You see, that would be a completely fruitless and ludicrous idea to you, would it not? Well, this is how we see this question that the vessel just spoke of. Sometimes you worry, you're concerned. Well, should I ask this entity or that, or ask my beloved grandmother that has died, and so on? And you're splitting hairs about all these things. You must understand that all of these glorious and beautiful souls are one cake. Their souls have been blended in together, joined, completely unified within what you call source or God. So just eat the cake, eat the cake, eat the cake. Don't worry. What am I ingesting here? Is it the eggs or the flour or the vanilla? Is it the angels? Is it the archangels? Is it Akashic records? Is it an ascended master? You're just simply splitting hairs. It's just things for your mind to do. Just rest, my dears. Eat the cake. And understand that angels do not see themselves separate from source. And angels do not see themselves as separate from you, from your soul. And angels don't consider themselves to be better than you or your soul, no matter what stage of evolution you are in. So let it all be baked together in one delicious cake and proceed. Good. So when we're meditating, we are operating from under the assumption of oneness with all of these beautiful resources, the Akashic records, our past selves, our parallel and future selves, God, archangels, other beautiful enlightened beings like the Pleiadians and Arcturians and so on. So understand what channeling is in light of what we're talking about tonight. Channeling is an answer from source and or higher beings to a prayer or question in the heart. And questions really are another good word for prayers. Your prayers are your questions. So prayer is the heart saying, I feel separate from God, and I feel separate from angels, and I want to connect. And I feel separate from my truest parts, my eternal parts. I want to connect. You see? And there's nothing wrong with that, because sometimes we do feel that. Okay. You want to throw in anything?
Yeah.
Go ahead. Go for it.
Well, a couple of things. One is about prayer. I think most of the time when people pray, it's when they're asking for something. But that's not just what prayer is for. Prayer is for also giving thanks and gratitude for what you have. The other thing about meditation, the way I look at it, and one of the ways I was taught was true meditation is doing nothing. Praying is active, meditation is inactive. And so you're just watching the thoughts come in. You're just watching them. Like if you're laying on the ground and watching a cloud come in and a cloud float out. You're not doing anything. You're not thinking. You're just watching the thoughts. And then what tends to happen is you look at the gaps between the thoughts. And that's where God is. That's where you're connected with all these things. But one of the things that's happened, I think there's a big misconception about what is meditation, because a lot of the masters and gurus in India were wise enough to know that Americans had too many thoughts going on their head. And if you told them not to do anything, they would go crazy. So the idea was, let's give them one thing to do. And when they can do that one thing, then we can take it away. So you've got mantras, which you can repeat over and over again when it's in Sanskrit, but a mantra can be anything. I am God. I am healthy. I am love. It can be anything that you just repeat over and over and over again. Why? Because then the brain gets bored. The other thing is, which is called vipassana, which is what Buddha's technique was, is watching your breath. You can watch the rise and fall of your stomach, of your abdomen, or you can try and feel the air going in and out of your nostrils. Now, if you try and feel the air going in and out of your nostrils, you cannot think while you do that. So these are techniques. These are techniques to get to somebody to the point to where they can jump into just watching. And so I hear all the time people say, I tried and I couldn't do it. Well, of course you can do it. It doesn't matter if your thoughts take you away. It doesn't matter if you're sitting there and all of a sudden you think I'm hungry and you start thinking, oh, what am I going to have for dinner? It doesn't matter. Of course that's going to happen. What you do is, as soon as you realize you're thinking, you go back to watching. You go back to watching your thoughts, and you're going to get caught, and that's fine. And you just know that over time your mind will start to slow down and you'll get caught less and less. And so that's the key. Now, sometimes you'll be doing pretty good. And then you'll have the worst meditation you've ever had. And you said, wow, my mind was throwing everything at me, like the kitchen sink. It was talking about sex. It was talking about money. It was talking about all this stuff. I said, wow, I guess I've really fallen behind. No, you're winning. You're winning because your mind is trying desperately to get you caught again, to get you to give up.
Mm-hmm. I love that. Chuck was the first person that I ever met that was a serious meditator. How many years have you been meditating now? 40? 50 years? I mean, he doesn't play around. He actually does it. He's committed to it. And one of the first gifts he gave me was a tool to help me meditate. And that is one of our beloved pastimes of things that we do together and separately. So all of those higher beings that are at a higher level of consciousness than us, all of them are always working in partnership with your higher self. So you don't even ever have to worry about that or have a concern or a thought. Are these beings, are they going to violate my higher self or what my soul wants? Just know that your soul is in agreement with them. Your eternal parts are in agreement with these higher level beings, and they're in agreement with you. And the witness to the fact that you're working with higher beings and higher level consciousness beings is the peace that you feel. The peace that you feel. So in meditation or in prayer, there should be a deep, deep peace settling in at some point. And I love what Chuck said, don't give up, just keep trying, and don't worry about it if your mind runs amok or whatever. It happens to all of us. But the thing is, in meditation is where you begin to really meet yourself as God. It's where you really begin to be and experience your higher self. And if you do it long enough, if you do it enough, then you begin to develop this really keen discernment about who you are. Oh, this is my higher self, and this is not. Oh, this is my ego, and this is my higher self. And because it's in meditation that you begin to memorize the feeling and the presence of your higher self. Do you have something else on that?
Yeah. One of the things that I talk to my patients about, meditation has been proven to be a healthier thing to do because it gets you into your state of relaxation and out of fight or flight. And so that's our true state, to be in a relaxed state. So what I tell my patients to do, if you would just commit to meditating for 3 months, do it every day for 3 months, and don't let your mind talk you out of it once, because your mind is like a horse. You get on a wild horse and it throws you, you climb right back on, and you just keep getting on, and then one day the horse will surrender to you. So you just keep doing it. And then at the end of 3 months, you can look and see, okay, is this something I want to continue to do or not? And I'd say at least 95% of the time they do, because they forgot what it feels like to be relaxed. And not only that, but what tends to happen is, so maybe they decide they're going to start at 15 minutes in the beginning. And then after a while, the little dinger goes off after 15 minutes and they think, I feel really good. Why would I get up? Why wouldn't I do this longer? And then they do it longer and longer. And then it's one of the things that they look forward to.
Yeah, I love it. And one of the things we do around here is we just lay in bed for a few minutes after the alarm goes off in the morning, 15, 20, 30 minutes, and just meditate and zone out. And also, if you can't do that, or you don't like morning's not your thing, go to bed a few minutes early and just lay there and relax and meditate before you drift off to sleep. So prayer sometimes can come from a place of lack. You can kind of tune into, your ego is getting involved in your prayers if you're feeling a sense of lack as you're praying. And you'll know this because you'll be entering prayer from a position of, I'm separate from God. Whereas in meditation, your perspective is, I am one with God. I am God. I'm merging in to the cake. I'm merging with angels, with source, with higher beings. I'm in the soup or the ocean of consciousness. So like Chuck said, prayer involves your thinking, right? And so it's easier in prayer for your ego to stay active or to kind of run the show. But so thought forms are part of prayer, and meditation is based on no thought unless you're doing an imagination meditation, which we'll talk about another time. But in prayer, you can look at your thought forms. You can use it as a time of self-inquiry. When something's rising up in your heart and you're asking the universe for help, are you neutral and unattached in what you're asking for? Are you asking for the highest and best? Are you asking from a place of high consciousness? Or are you asking from a place of fear? If you're asking from a place of fear, a lack, or insecurity, or grief, then you know that your ego's driving you behind that prayer. So you can examine the thoughts that you're thinking when you pray. Yes, yes. Think about what you're thinking when you're praying, my dears. Absolutely. Now, we'll share a little bit more about if prayer is on a continuum, prayer and meditation, and imagine a continuum here. There are many different things in between. There are some meditations that contain some prayer, and some prayers that are very meditative, contemplative, and very open. And they're in the middle, as the gentleman just shared, are mantras or affirmations, which were given to seekers who were having a trouble quieting the mind. And so a mantra or an affirmation can give your mind something to do if the silent, no thought meditation is a bust for you. So it's a good middle ground, we would say. Middle ground. Such as the mala beads. Touching each bead and saying a mantra. This is where this practice came from. So sometimes if the mind is like a hungry dog, if you give it a bone, it might settle down a little bit. So mantras and affirmations can be a middle ground between prayers in which your mind is very engaged and meditation in which your mind is not active at all. But we want to reiterate and emphasize what the gentleman said, that God is found in the space in between the thoughts. Yes. Chuck, can you share with them? I wanted you to share with them why sometimes affirmations don't work. Because I know there's some out there that said, oh, I've done all these affirmations and they're not working. Talk to them about that.
Okay, so the purpose for affirmations is to clear the unconscious mind of a belief that no longer serves you. So you have a belief that every time you hire somebody to come do something at your house, they do a terrible job and rip you off. So you want to get rid of that belief. So you say, from now on, whenever I hire anybody, they're going to come and they're going to do the best job and they're going to do it at a very good price. So the issue is how much energy is in each one of those thoughts. So if Johnny, when he's growing up, if his father says to him 2-3 times a week, you're stupid and you're never going to amount to anything. So if we'll say energy comes in G's, and say every time his father says that, there's 1 G's worth of energy going into that thought. And what happens with the brain, science knows, is as the thoughts get more and more energy, it creates a bigger and bigger groove in the brain. So by the time he's 18, he has 3,000-4,000 G's of energy in that thought. So now he says, so somebody says, do an affirmation, say, I'm smart and I can accomplish anything. So it's okay. So every time he does it, let's say he gets 2 G's of energy in it. So he puts some energy into it. I am smart. And so he does that, and he does it for 2 or 3 weeks, and he maybe has 100, 200 G's of energy in there. but nowhere near the amount needed to overcome the other one. Therefore, it doesn't work, and he gives up. People are only going to try this so long before they think it works. Now there are different ways of getting rid of unconscious beliefs, hypnosis, and Bruce Lipton has a bunch of these ways, which is excellent. You can look them up on the internet. I actually have a technique that I learned from the Palladians, in which what I do is I get the person to go to that belief. So I take them to that belief in their unconscious mind through a technique that I do, and I get them to that technique, because all that is a tape. If you push a button, every time you push that button, the tape will play the same thing. You're stupid. You're not going to mount to anything. Okay, you push that tape button again. You're stupid. You're not going to mount to anything. So I get them to go to that tape, and an affirmation would be making another tape. So you're trying to make another belief to counter out the other belief. But the truth of the matter is, if you want to know who God is, you want to become God, you shouldn't have any beliefs at all. Unconscious beliefs just get in the way. So if you believe God looks like George Burns, and God knocks on your door, you're going to say, oh, go away. You're not God. You don't look like George Burns. So what happens then is, when I get them to go to where that tape, that unconscious belief is, then I change that tape into a positive tape. So now all the energy that was already into that negative belief now goes into the positive, and you can have instantaneous changes that way.
Yeah. Okay, good. All right, let's actually do some work with Judah around that, because I know that you guys don't have a Chuck in you don't have a Chuck in your world to do this with you, but you do have a Judah. So let's do some work around this. Good. And so, dear, these subconscious beliefs that the gentleman is speaking about are beliefs that you came into agreement with, likely as a child, or as a young person, when you endured some hurt or trauma, or some unfortunate event in which you were unloved in a sufficient way, in the way in which God would have you be loved. And so you all have these subconscious beliefs, and the gentleman is correct. They have lots of force behind them, especially if you have been in agreement and alignment with them on an unconscious level for many, many years. And sometimes these subconscious beliefs go back 1, 2, 3, 5, 10, 12, 100 lifetimes. Some of you have literally carried subconscious beliefs from one life to the next, such as, I'm not worthy, I'm not lovable, I'm not good enough, I'm not smart enough, I can't do it, and so on. And what the gentleman is sharing with you here is that you can be diligent and say affirmations all day long, but if the energy you're putting into the affirmation is not larger than and is not leveraged sufficiently against the subconscious load that you carry, you aren't getting free. And this can cause you to feel frustrated, or that you haven't yet found the truth, but we beg to differ with you. So we're going to work with you right now to give you a moment in time, a space in time here where you can begin to uproot subconscious beliefs. One may already be coming to you that we can work on at this time. If not, you can, as you ponder, and find the subconscious belief as it comes to mind, you can revisit this space in this recording in order to get free. So what we do, as far as this gentleman has his treatment and his powerful needles, his acupuncture needles, through which he uses his intention and his lasers and so on, uses his intention to add the power of the energy to unseat the subconscious belief with the agreement of his patients. Well, obviously that's not an option for you right now. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to add our supernatural power and authority, the authority of God himself, herself, and the energy, the light force energy of the cosmos, of glory, with your intention. We are going to help you. We're going to find, because of our connection to all knowing, the moment in which you were hurt and wounded in your past, be it in this life or in another past life or in many. We can go back to the original wound, the original hurt, the original trauma, and put our finger on it. We're going to tag it and treat it. We're going to tag it and treat it right now in all realms of time and space, and clear all the negative energies, all the karmic energies around that original wound, all the lies, associations, and effects that came from that moment of hurt. We're asking you right now to join us with your agreement and break agreement with lies such as, I'm not good enough, I'm not lovable, there's not enough. All lack and limiting beliefs. You must break agreement with them. If there is emotion to be felt, allow it to arise, and know that it is a cleansing of these old historical energies. Yes. And we can, and we are, and we will continue to pull all these roots up. From the bad fruit that you are experiencing, from the suffering that you are experiencing due to old historical energies. We don't want you to suffer. We want you to break agreement with suffering. Please break agreement with your suffering. Good. Okay. So we can use I am statements in our prayers or our meditation and put as much energy as we can into them. But this type of rewriting of deeply held subconscious beliefs takes real commitment and consistency and effort, like Chuck said, to undermine these old subconscious beliefs. But like he said, and Judah said, you can call in the assistance of angels in order to quickly, supernaturally, miraculously burn through these old subconscious beliefs. So keep in mind that when you say an affirmation or a mantra, the energy behind it is key. That's what Chuck was saying. If you're coming from fear or a wrong energy, you're not going to get free, because energy trumps words. Energy trumps words. So if your bank account is in the red and there's no food in the fridge, and you're saying, I'm abundant, I am abundant, I am abundant, that's not going to work, right? So what do you do if you're in that situation? It's okay. It's okay to say, help, right? It's okay to pray and say, right now, I feel separate from abundance. I feel separate from God. I feel separate from provision. I feel separate from my inheritance as a child of God. And it's okay to just pray and say, help, somebody help me. Whoever's out there, I don't know who you are or where you went or what your name is, but I feel really abandoned right now and really separate, and I need help. And I do absolutely 100% believe that you are answered when you pray a prayer. So be mindful that affirmations, if they're coming from a fear energy or a lack energy, they're not going to work. And you can also, sometimes we get into this kind of a spiritual ego place where we use them as a form of denial. You can say, I'm abundant, but if you're broke and starving, that's just not the truth, right? So you don't want to use them as some kind of a weird sort of denial. So, okay, let's see.
So-
Go ahead.
the way this universe works is whatever you vibrate at, whatever the emotion, the vibration is about, is what you will attract. So if you're saying I'm abundant, but you're coming from fear, then the energy you're putting out there is fear, and you'll get more of that. So when you vibrate your intention is to have more, then you need to pretend like, fake it till you make it like you already have it. Think about, oh, I'm going to get me a new car and I'm going to go to Hawaii. Think about all the wonderful things. Jim Carrey is a perfect example of this. When he first moved to Los Angeles, he would get in his car, and there's a place called Lover's View, Lover's Outlook, and he would go up there to the top by himself in his car, and he would give his train in the car, and he would tell his jokes and everything, and to nobody. He was just in the car, and then he's driving home. He'd go, I killed it, they loved me, they thought I was great, they loved me. And then he took it out, his checkbook, and he wrote a check for $10 million with a date on it. And when that date came, he got a check for $10 million for doing one of his movies. I think it was Dumb and Dumber, or maybe, I'm not sure which one. And so
he carried it in his wallet for 5 years.
As if you already have it. If no matter what you say, if your emotion is different, then you outbalance it. You want to put it takes the vibration of whatever it is you want, mm-hmm, for you to have that vibration to attract that vibration to you. So if you, mm-hmm, vibrate at the vibration of money, mm-hmm, and money's just energy, then you will draw more energy. But no matter how many times you say, I want money, if you're coming from a place of lack, you'll just get lack. Because exactly, that's the vibration you'll be putting out.
Yes. And if you're taking the course, or you're going to be taking the course with us, week 8 is all about imagination meditation and how to be able to use meditation and manifest what you want. So I want to do a little compare and contrast between egoic prayers and surrendered prayers, ego-driven prayers and enlightened prayers. So egoic prayers are outward focused. They're focused on other people, other circumstances. In these types of prayers, you're believing that something or someone else needs to change, has to change, in order for you to have peace. That's a sign that your prayers are ego-driven. If your prayers are enlightened or more surrendered, they have an inner focus. You're focused on you, on your heart, on your emotions, and you're understanding that peace comes from your inside, and that you're feeling your feelings, right? And you understand that you can be perfectly at peace no matter what's going on around you. This is an enlightened prayer. The understanding that you're perfectly at peace no matter what's happening on the outside. Egoic prayers come from a place of suffering, internal suffering. But enlightened and surrendered prayers, you're feeling your feelings. You're releasing hurt. You're releasing frustration. You're releasing anger. You're feeling your feelings and letting the energy be in motion, the energy in motion, the emotion come through, rather than suffering. Egoic prayers want a particular outcome. I know best, God. This is how it should be, and I just demand that you give it to me. Or it could be a begging, pleading kind of victim. Oh, God, please, I'm begging you for this. That comes again from suffering. So egoic prayers turn you into a beggar. But enlightened prayers are where you're coming from this knowing that you're an heir. You're a child of God. You're written into the will. You see, if God had a will, he would sign everything over to you. It's all yours. You're the heir, you see. So in an enlightened prayer, when you're praying from that perspective, you understand that the kingdom of heaven is yours. It's all yours. It's all yours for the asking, you see. And enlightened prayers are so surrendered that you're willing to accept any outcome because you trust. You trust God. Whatever outcome, whatever happens, you're okay with it. You can allow it all. The good, the bad, the ugly. You don't judge anything. You know that the outcome is going to be exactly what it's supposed to be. So, an egoic prayer, if you're praying from that perspective, then you believe somewhere in your heart that somebody or something should be different than how it is. So, see, egoic prayers kind of have a filter of judgment on them. This should not be happening. This is not okay. This is not the way it should be. This person's got to change. This situation's got to change. This government's got to change. But an enlightened and surrendered prayer, that person knows that they're the one, you see, that wants to change. They're willing. They're willing to do interior work. They're willing to see what's in their heart. They're willing to see how they can evolve. They're willing to change. They're not demanding that anybody else around them change. So egoic prayers come from this place of fear and a belief in lack. And also sometimes it comes from a desire to control. We want to make a business. Yes, you want to make a deal with God. You want God to deliver on your laundry list. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, God. I want this sort of a mate. Yes, he must be good looking. He must be rich. He must be intelligent, and affectionate, and on and on and on and on and on. Your laundry list goes for what you want. And you think that you know best, and God is clueless. Just not with it. Get with it, God. Give me these things on my list. This is an egoic sort of perspective. And this is an attempt to make a business deal with God. God, you do this for me and I will do this for you, and so on. Now, we know you're probably not that aware of these motivations, but look closely and you might find them. And so sometimes when the ego is at the helm in prayer, it wants to control God and tell life how life should unfold. But reality is that life unfolds as it will, and there are myriads and myriads and myriads of dynamics in life that are unfolding exactly as they should, and so many different moving parts and pieces. And so when you are an enlightened person, you understand this, and you're not afraid to let the chips fall where they may, as you may say, to play whatever hand that you're dealt, understanding that, yes, maybe this particular hand that you've been dealt is not a winning hand, but there is life. There is life who will deal you another hand in short order, and it will likely be a better hand. And so whether you have a winning hand or a losing hand, an enlightened person understands it's all okay. It's just a game. It's just a game, just a card game, you see. Sometimes I will have a winning hand and sometimes I will have a losing hand. And in the end, it's all going to be all right, you see. Good. Thank you, Judah. So enlightened prayers come from this place of love and trust, releasing and allowing. Yes, and when you're praying from your ego, it's all about you. This is what I want. This is how it should be. And this is what is happening next, and so on. But those who are moving towards enlightenment, experience themselves as God, as the source of not just the source. Oh, yes, the ego sees itself as the source of a question, but the enlightened one sees itself as the answer to the prayer. Yes, so when you are enlightened, you see yourself as the answer to your own prayers. You understand the answer lies within you. Yes. And so the egoic prayers are coming from a service to self perspective, whereas the enlightened prayers are coming from a desire to serve others. And so in an egoic prayer, the self is driving the car. But in an enlightened prayers, the ego is relaxed. It's in the back seat taking a snooze. It is relaxed. And sometimes it even completely disappears altogether. Good. So like Chuck was saying earlier, prayer, some masters, Jesus and other Eastern masters, gave their followers things to do, mantras, malas, prayers, because the mind is active and the mind needs to have words, things to say. But in meditation, the mind is quiet and it's relaxed and the words dissipate. There's an old proverb in scripture that I love. It says, where there is a multitude of words, error or sin abounds. The word sin there meaning error. So the more we say, the more likely we are to make an error, right? To get off track. I love this verse that Jesus said, when you're praying, don't use meaningless repetition and suppose that you're going to be heard because you've said so many words to God, right? I love that. And Jesus said, don't be like that, because God already knows what you need before you even ask. And he also said in Mark 11:24, you can pray for anything, and if you believe that you've received it, it will be yours. That's that energy Chuck was talking about. When you have that energy of faith and trust and an openness, then you will receive. Yes, we encourage you, dears, just to ask, 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 ask. Don't stop asking. And when you ask, as you ask, know, even before the thought formed in your mind, we were hearing, listening to your heart. Yes, yes. Isaiah, I love this verse in Isaiah 65. It says, I will answer them before they even call to me. While they're still talking about what they need, I will go ahead and answer their prayer. And angels are like that. I don't know if you guys have gotten the book yet, but I want to tell you there's a chapter in here called Ask Judah. And it's all about how you work with angels in prayer. Ask them for what you want and need and how you get answers from them. And in that, Judah talked about how, angels operate at the speed of light. You think it just as you think it, or even say their name, and they're just instantly there bringing the answer for you and working out the issues for you. And they know the things that we maybe don't have access to. Here are some no-fail prayers. You ready? These are ones that it's really hard to mess up with these. Here's one. I am listening. Here's another one. Thank you. Help. One that Jesus prayed. Deliver us from evil. That's an easy one to pray. Deliver me from evil today. In ourselves, in others. Deliver us from evil. I love this one. We pray this one all the time around here. Your will be done. Your kingdom come. Your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. And this is everything we do in the Judah channel, is to help you bring heaven down into your earthly life. As above, so below. Highest and best for all. That's an easy one. Judah, please give us whatever's for the highest and best of all. For the highest and best of all in this time. And I surrender. All right, I'm going to stop there and we're going to do some prayer and meditation. Do you have anything you want to share while I get situated?
You said you wanted me to tell the story about the neighbor. You want me to do that still?
Go for it.
Okay.
I don't remember, but I believe you if you said I ask you to tell it.
Well, one thing is when you see that everything that happens to you as being positive, then only positive things will happen to you. And sometimes you have to meditate on that a little bit before you can fully understand it. So this is an old Chinese parable. There's a farmer who has a horse, and the horse ran away. And the neighbor comes over and says, "Oh, poor you, poor you. You know, you don't have a horse to plow your field. You won't be able to grow any food. Poor you, poor you." And the farmer says, "Maybe." And then the horse comes back and brings like 20 wild horses with it. So the neighbor comes over and says, "Lucky you, lucky you. You got all these horses. Now you can sell some and you can plow more field and grow more food. Lucky you, lucky you." And the farmer says, "Maybe." And then the farmer's son falls off one of the horses when he's trying to break it in and breaks his leg. And the neighbor comes over and says, "Oh, poor you, your son broke his leg. He won't be able to break in some of these horses. He won't be able to help you sell some. Poor you, poor you." And the farmer says, "Maybe." And then the army comes through, and they're looking for all the men of certain ages to stick into the army, called conscription. And they can't take the boy because he has a broken leg. So then the neighbor comes over and says, "Lucky you, lucky you. They can't take your son." And of course, the farmer says, "Maybe." You just never know.
It's such a great story and a great one to end on, because the point of that is sometimes you feel like your prayer has not been answered or answered the way you thought, but it's always answered in exactly the way you need, right? And so that's a point of trust where we can just, and some of us, we had parents that were completely untrustworthy or largely untrustworthy. So we're having to allow angels and God to reparent us and allow our higher self to reparent our inner child. And like the story says, just know that whatever happens and transpires is exactly what you need. Mm-hmm. All right, let's spend some time meditating together. Pray your precious prayers, my dear, or just open up and think nothing at all. Take a deep breath. And if you're in a safe place, I invite you to close your eyes, open your mind and your body, open your heart. We're going to allow some light language transmissions in. We're going to invite the Pleiadian sisters and Judah to pray prayers for you. And if you ever wonder what to pray, there's a whole chapter in the back of the book that's Judah's prayers for you. And they're safe and good prayers that you can pray over yourself anytime and others. Amale Amale. Amale Amale Olamaye. Vishalamale Nuya. Imalele Onaila. Imale Ola. Imale Ale Asabare Ala Mashelano. Come as you are. Come as you are. Shivele ala milele alo. Come as you are. You're not that far away. We are ever close, so close, so close. We are so close. Angels all around, angels all around. Aire vere maro, aire vere maro. Shivana mare ororaya. Ask for what you want, ask for what you need, and then be ready, ready, ready to receive. Ask for what you want, ask for what you need, and then be ready, ready, ready to receive. Heart open, hearts wide open to receive. Shivele vere marare vere o. Shivere mere vera marare rio. Cabarero la meluria. Cabale vele verero re re uro. And I asked Judah to come into this space with you, to fill up the physical space wherever you are. I ask for your beautiful team of angels and spirit guides to touch you. I ask that you would feel their physical touch. I ask that everyone within the sound of my voice know how precious and beloved they are. Know that you're seen, know that you're heard, that there is no prayer that goes from your lips, that it ever goes unanswered. that Source always knows, always sees, always hears, always answers every question of the heart, every question of the heart. And in the good time, in the right time, in the best time, you will receive the highest and best for your evolution. The highest and best for the evolution of your soul. Receive it even now. Receive the highest and best for the evolution of your soul. Receive love. Receive joy. Receive health. Receive prosperity and abundance and blessing. Receive the truth for every lie that you have been fed or taught or received or made agreements with. Receive now the truth, the truth, the truth, the truth. Yes. Ivele amaleo limale malamalaye omale avalale ono merario. And I want to especially pray tonight for the brokenhearted, for those who have prayed many prayers and felt abandoned by God or by life, abandoned by others, and feel that, have a feeling of being separate. I speak healing to your heart now, healing and wholeness. And may you feel the love of God coming into your space tonight, coming into your heart, coming into your being, and healing. And may you experience angels as your very dear friends and comforters, and the providers of every good and perfect gift that you are of need of in this moment. And if you need food, I just pray for food to come to you in short order, even tonight before you lay your head down tonight. May your belly be full. And if you're in need of love or companionship, I pray that one that has a high love and a high acceptance and ability to commit to you, come to you in short order. And may you find God as a loving and gracious mother, and a caring and forgiving and nurturing and protective father. Okay, beloveds. I could stay all night. It feels so good here in this space. We love you. We're thankful for you. If you don't have a family or someone that loves and cares about you, consider yourself adopted. We love you. We're grateful for you. We're thankful that you're a part of our lives. Call on Judah for help this week. Try on some new prayers. Keep on meditating. And you are going to have a shift, that shift that you're looking for. Love you guys. Have a wonderful week.